Good morning, everybody. We're coming to you from sunny Scottsdale, Arizona this morning. I'm Matt Dana, and I'm here with my partner, Mr. Todd Smith.
Morning, Matt.
Good to see you, Todd. And those of you that are familiar with our videos, usually when Todd's sitting here, we're going to talk about what type of a subject, Todd?
I think we're going to talk about some probate.
A little bit of probate. So we used to call you Dr. Death in the law firm. That's probably not a good idea.
I told you stop, so.
Anyway, we're talking about probate today, and as you know, that we have two different probate companies. We have Dana Whiting Law that does a lot of probate, and we also have our sister company, Jet Probate. And you come to our website, you'll see a dialogue about both companies. I think, Todd, right now we're doing about 25 probates a month, new probates.
New probates get open, yeah, I think that's right.
That number's getting larger and larger. And Todd, we also know what's going on in the United States and around the world is the economy struggling for a lot of Americans right now. And so in these probates, sometimes when you lose a loved one, you have other loved ones that are in desperate need to inherit that, either cash or sell the house or create liquidity, right?
That's right.
You know, we're seeing right now we're in the government shutdown, and we see how fast people, once you cut off kind of a revenue source, how fast people desperately need to have cash flow. And it's a horrible time because they did lose a loved one, and they don't want to sound like they're terribly excited, like when I'm going to get my inheritance. But from a practical matter, they might have some severe financial problems to deal with, right?
And I think there already was an issue in a lot of people's minds that probate just takes too long anyway.
Yeah.
And so you add that general feeling to this economy that we're in, where people are struggling and they really need something. And I can see how that creates a new frustration.
Yeah, and Todd, we're going to talk about today, cash advances in probate. And, you and I both were introduced to this concept probably 3 or 4 years ago. And it was amazing to me that I've practiced probate, close to 40 years. And I don't know if this is a new concept, but it certainly has been growing a lot of arms and legs the last 4 or 5 years. But tell our viewers, what is a cash advance out of probate? How does that work?
So a few years ago, not exactly sure how long ago, but I remember the first time I'm assisting a client who is a personal representative of a loved one's estate, and we're working through the notices to creditors and all that stuff that you do. And we get a letter from a company that says, hey, we have purchased the share of XYZ heir. This person that was going to be receiving 1/4 of the estate has sold a portion of their 1/4, and they filed in the probate case and notified us that when we're ready to make a final distribution, we're to make a distribution of X amount to them of that heir's share. And this is a new concept to me when I saw it the first time, but then it started happening more and more often.
Yeah.
And so once I started seeing it more and more often, we started having conversations with some of the people that provide this service and ask questions and learn about it. And one thing that I learned is, while it seems like what is happening is they're loaning money to the heir, that's not what's happening at all. They're providing some liquidity to that heir, but what they're doing is they're purchasing a portion of what they're going to inherit. So it's something that is allowed in the state of Arizona, that you can actually, if you're the heir to an estate, you can actually sell your beneficial interest to somebody, and what they get paid back is going to be more than what they bought it for, but it's not interest. It's just the premium of the access to the funds early.
The person that got access to these funds, they have nothing to repay. It's interesting, those of us that are tax nerds, that this, you call it a beneficial interest in the probate. That's actually an asset that can be sold. And I kind of think of the visual of like a storage unit, right? And we've got some friends, and I think we actually have some spouses to some of our paralegals that actually buy these storage units. They buy the whole kit and caboodle what's in that storage unit. And I kind of feel like probate's a little bit like a storage unit. A probate might have a house inside there. There might be some stocks and bonds in there. There might be some vehicles. But there's a whole pile of different things that are in this probate or this storage unit. And the beneficiary comes along and says, I have a 1/3 interest in this bundle of assets. And we think that bundle of assets is worth, I'll just make up a number to say that bundle of assets is worth, $200,000. And, this beneficiary comes along and says, I have a 1/3 interest in this bundle. And that, looks like it might be worth about $60,000. So they go to a finance company that specializes in these cash advances, and there's quite a few of them out there. We have very good relationships with most of them. But they come along and they'll look at this bundle and they'll say, we'll pay you X for that bundle. And of course, they're in the business of making money, right? But the good news is that money can be in the checking account in a matter of days, right?
That's right. I always say that when it comes down to it, there's two huge benefits to a person selling that interest. And one is what you just hit on. They can come up with that money pretty quickly. So it's a fast transaction. And number two, it's non-recourse. So if they give you that money and they purchase your share and something happens in that estate where there's a creditor claim nobody knew about, and it turns out you're not inheriting anything.
Unpaid taxes,
right?
Disgruntled heir sues the estate or whatever.
The heir does not personally owe them anything, and the company that does this, they go into the transaction knowing that full well. But if they end up getting nothing, they can't go after the heir.
Yeah, some people think, well, gosh, what let's just I'm going to make up numbers here, but let's just say, I have this 30% interest that's worth $60,000. And I need 20,000 really bad. This probate we've always talked could take a year and a half. How long is it going to take to sell the house? A lot of bad things could happen to a beneficiary in that period of time.
The time that it takes to do the probate.
$20,000 today is worth a lot more to them than getting $60,000 a year and a half from now.
Yeah, if they make an offer to a certain person that needs that $20,000, they say, hey, we will give you $20,000 today if you give us $30,000 6 months from now. There's a lot of people that will jump on that without hesitation.
Yeah, and this is quite different than what you hear call car title loans, right? Car title loans is actually a loan.
It is a loan.
They're taking your title and they're loaning you money and you're paying that back. If you don't, you lose your car. That's quite different. Like you said here, you use the legal term, there's no recourse, meaning if this whoever bought this interest, if those assets turn out to be zero, they're not coming back against you.
That's right.
So very interesting. I think that just the last thing here we'll talk about on the video is this whole industry of advancing money in probate. It kind of all evolved out of personal injury, right? Tell me where you see the similarities in somebody needing an advance in personal injury versus somebody that needs an advance in probate.
Yeah, there are certain payouts in settlements of personal injury where it's not a lump sum up front, like it's going to be a delayed payment or some kind of annuity over years. And there are some people that don't want to wait for that. And so companies have come along to fill in the void, and they say, well, you've got this annuity of $100,000 a year for the next X years. We'll buy that from you for Y.
Yeah.
And, if someone does the analysis and it makes sense to them that they need the cash, that much cash right then, they're going to entertain that offer. And cash now is more valuable than cash in the future to a person now.
Yeah. Thanks for that explanation, Todd. And I just want our viewers to know we do have a form they can fill out and submit to us, and we will certainly put them in contact with the appropriate cash advance people out there. But I think this is going to be a tremendous help.
If you're interested in probate cash advances, you can fill out the link below to get more information.